All right, we're back. I have to apologize. I had some serious copy and paste issues on that last video I noticed when I was reviewing it. I guess the coffee hadn't kicked in yet. All right, so moving on to ball rolling and drop sounds. Um, so most tables already have ball rolling sounds implemented. Like in this case, where they're using the JP rolling sounds routine. And it's very similar to what's in Fleep. I think Fleep just adds, um, a different sound effect and the ball drop subroutines. We can pretty much copy and paste all of this over. Um, make sure that you use the correct value for T knob. Make that 5. But everything else is essentially you don't need to mess with. Now, one thing that the rolling routine does not do is it does not handle um, ball rolling sound effects on ramps. You can see here that these ball rolling sound effects only play when the ball Z position is less than 30 units, which basically means when it's rolling around on the playfield. So that's an area where we can maybe improve these routines later on. One other thing to check is that you've got the rolling timer, and I know that we have that because I checked it in the last video. But if not, you need to add it or just use what the previous rolling sound timer was. There we go. On ball collision is a subroutine that is also implemented in Fleep. So if I just search on this, you'll see that it's also defined down here, and we don't want double subroutine definitions. So let's delete this guy. What's next? Knocker. Oh, let's do a search for knocker. Starting from the top of the script. Okay. So knocker is the sound effect is defined in this callback here. In this table, it's a solenoid callback element number 15, but it might be different in your table. We just need to replace the callback with this subroutine name. And then we need to add the subroutine. I'll just put it down here with the rest of the solenoid callbacks. So this will use this function called knocker solenoid, which is a Fleep function or subroutine. And that subroutine uses or plays a sound, the knocker 1 sound, at this knocker position. So we need to create a object on the table called knocker position. I'll put it on layer 1. We'll just create a basic primitive, resize it, and just doesn't need to be big. But we're going to make it invisible, so that doesn't really matter. And definitely turn off collidable. I usually put them kind of in the upper left where the knocker normally would be. And then you rename it to knocker position. That's it. All right. Now we're going to be getting into more our objects that are more specific to a table. You know, these instructions might vary from table to table, but we'll use this as an example. So is the next one is drain sounds. Now for a table to understand how to implement this, you got to first find where the drain kicker is and what its name is. And usually it's drain, but just double check. And we're going to be using that. Now let's do a search for drain. Okay, so there's a drain hit function. And notice that's where it plays the drain sound. So we're going to use the Fleep version of the sound effect. Replace that sound effect, and we're going to tell it to play at the drain position. The next one is ball release sound. Again, let's go to the table. This is where the ball gets created and then released into the plunger lane. And it is a kicker called ball release. Let's do a search for that. Okay, so now we're running into something that you'll notice on most ROM-based tables. There's a class of objects that are handled by VPX that interact with the ROM. And like, here's an example. The CVPM ball stack is the ball stack class. And here we're creating an instance of that class and assigning it to BS trough. So this is where the trough is set up in the table. And in one of the properties of this trough is the init exit sound. This is where it defines what sound effect to play when it releases a ball. So we're not going to use this. We can just simply comment it out. But we do need to create a way to handle the event of a ball being ejected from that kicker. And that would be an unhit function. So I'm going to search on ball release. There's no unhit function already. So it looks like we're going to need to create it. So I'll put it down here with the other saucer hit and unhit functions. So I'm going to create sub ball release unhit. And all we want to do is create the sound effect, which is called random ball release, random sound ball release. And we want it to be located at the ball release kicker, like that. Okay. And that's all there is to that. Let's move on to the bumpers. So we have bumper 1 and bumper 2. Bumper 1, where are you? Here's a hit subroutine. We're going to replace this sound effect. You know, there's typically 3 bumpers on a table. So there's 3 subroutines that are, you know, provided in Fleep, but we can just pick, you know, it doesn't matter which one you pick for which bumper, but just try to make them different. So bumper top we'll use that for bumper 1. Why not? We're going to play it at bumper 1. Now let's use random sound bumper bottom for bumper 2. Next up is the slingshots. So let's do a search for slingshot. No, let's do a search for just slingshot. There we go. This is the subroutine that fires off when the right slingshot goes. So we're going to use random sound sling right. And we'll replace this whole line. Now, slingshots, if we go to the right slingshot, you know, the slingshot object is this guy, but it's a wall with a slingshot function turned on. But a wall doesn't have a single X and Y property. It has multiple X and Y properties, you know, one per vertex that defines the edge of the wall. So we can't use a wall to define just a single X and Y. But then, you know, conveniently, there's this little object on the table that it does have an X and Y property, a single value for each. So we're going to use that guy, sling 1. Sometimes it's called something else, but usually it's like sling 1 or sling 2. Let's just check. The left one is called sling 2. So you can guess where we're going with this. Going to the left slingshot. Random sound sling left. Sling 2. Okay. Now we're getting into saucers. So if we zoom out and look at our table, looks like we only have one saucer. I mean, there's the drain and the ball release saucer, which we already dealt with. But this is a nice simple table. There's only one saucer here. It's called lockup. I guess that's where you lock the ball. So let's do a script search on that, starting from the top. Okay. So it also is an instance of this VPM ball stack class. So we're going to handle it just like we handled the trough. So we're going to comment out the sound effect definition. Let's see if it has a hit or an unhit event. It has a hit event, but it does not have an unhit subroutine handling of a handler. So we're going to create an unhit as well. The unhit does not need to do this. And we're going to replace the lock sound effect with saucer lock. Saucer lock should play the sound effect at the active ball wherever it's locked. And then for the unhit, when it pops out, we're going to use sound saucer kick. Now, Fleep handles the case where there may not be a ball in the kicker when it tries to kick. I'm just going to assume that there is one for now. I'm not going to worry about dealing with that logic, but I guess we could. So sound saucer kick, the one means there's a ball in there. and we want to play the sound at the lockup kicker. And that about does it. Let's save this. All right, well, the next video will go over some script cleanup. Now we're at the bottom of our Fleep tutorial, so we just got to do some script cleanup, and of course we still have to go back and assign objects to collections. So once that's done, we'll give the table a test run, see how it goes. So see you at the next video.